for you this lesson from Unity of the Keys Spiritual Center.
It is good to be here today. It is such a gift. And I just want to say thank you for having me back again. This community just blesses me all the way here on the other side of the world. And gosh, as we gather here this sacred Sunday, just about a week after International Day of Peace, I want to invite us into another deep reflection, right? A deeper reflection. Because peace, real embodied peace, is not just an intellectual knowing. But it's a peace as we live it. It doesn't always come from what we think, and it doesn't always come from having more, in doing more, or even meditating more. Sometimes, friends, peace arrives only after we've made space for it. And so that's what today's message is really all about. It's the sacred, soul deep process of spiritual pruning. And I decided to use the word pruning because some of us who garden understand that pruning is really an essential piece of growth for any plant, right? And so before I even get started, I want to just celebrate our music team members who just got back from the Empower Music Festival at Unity Village, bringing its spirit-filled inspiration and joy home to us today. I love hearing the summary that Chris gave. I feel like I was kind of there, and it's kind of amazing that we're all connected by this home, the Unity Village, I would say our spiritual home, right? And so thank you, Chris, as we breathe into today's message of spiritual pruning and peace, know that the spirit of unity is alive within us, no matter where we are in this great big earth, or whichever time we decide to tune in and watch this. So it's here in the sanctuary, wherever you're watching, and singing through our music and also our hearts. And so let us begin. And let's see, here we go. So here's a truth that might surprise you, that sometimes the things that keep us from peace may still look alive. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I have a little video here as I talk through it. Um, Sometimes what blocks our growth isn't the broken or the bad. It's the beautiful, the familiar, the still working parts, right? The old role that we're really good at looking at. Let's see if I can get rid of that. There we go. Still playing around with this. Okay. It's the old role that we're really good at, that relationship that we've outgrown, but don't want to hurt, don't make any waves. That identity that perhaps we've outlived, but still feel really loyal to, right? And here's the thing, just because something is still blooming does not mean that it's aligned. That does not mean that it's aligned. So consider that. All right, so I'm going to share with you a story. Uh, it's a personal story, again, about me. It's about a dream I once had and I once held. And the moment I knew that it was time to let go. So over a decade ago, while I was in ministerial school with Reverend Gabriel, actually, I was given what felt like a divine download. The title of a radio show flashed in my heart like a calling. It was titled The Call of Spirit, Tune Into Possibility. And that little seed became a beautiful, there's that daily word again. It became a beautiful blossoming show on unity.fm. And so for about 3.5 years, I had the sacred joy of interviewing incredible spiritual teachers. Wayne Dyer, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., Gary Zukov, Karen Drucker, as Chris had said earlier, ministers from across the Unity and New Thought movements, including Reverend Debris. So many voices of light. It was such a blessing. It was vibrant, it was aligned, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it because the show was about talking to people about their spiritual walk and their spiritual journey. But over time, something began to shift in me. And I remembered a sage advice from a wise elder. And she said that when your ministry comes to a close, you'll know. And I did. The space changed, the energy shifted, and my soul whispered to me, it's time. I heard and I go, no, it's not time, but it was time. And I knew it. So, guys, letting go was not easy. It didn't feel like a failure, but it did feel like a loss. After all, it still looked really good. I really still enjoyed it. It connected me to beautiful people. There's that word again. It had momentum, visibility, but I realized sometimes you get to, or in this case, I get to give up the good in order to receive the great. And when you do so, when I did so, when you give up the good for the great, you make space for what's truly aligned with your soul's path. And in my case, that great didn't come with fanfare or even applause. And I don't know if I've shared this before, but if you don't know already, I got pregnant and had a baby while I was in ministerial school. And so for me, ministerial school ministry looked like a child's face, my baby, right? It looked like sacred dinners at home. It looked like quietly, fiercely, over and over, choosing to mother, to be fully present in that ministry of love. And I want to say this really clearly, that this path isn't just about mothers. There are fathers and caregivers, partners and protectors, spiritual guides in all forms, and who choose the unseen over the shiny, who prune what pulls them away from their deepest purpose, and to do it with no audience at all, but spirit. And so I want to acknowledge that and recognize that. And, because we don't always talk about that, right? That quiet, invisible pruning. Well, friends, that pruning, that too is ministry. And that too is peace. So I blessed and I lovingly released my show, not because it failed, but because its sacred season had come to a close and I knew it. And in that release, peace came. It was the peace that surpasses understanding. And it wasn't all at once, but over time, quietly, like a leaf falling in divine order. So, peace isn't something we find, my friends. It's what's left when we stop holding on. And so we understand that peace isn't something we go out and get, right? It's what's left. It's not what's added, but it's uncovered. And this is the metaphysical principle rooted in the law of being. My friends, we are already peace, but we must be willing to release what blocks it. It's similar to that saying that Rumi has, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Well, you can replace the word love for peace or any of the principles that we study, that we practice. And so this past week, the world honored the International Day of Peace. A beautiful reminder that global peace begins within, and that the whole world is celebrating, or there are pockets of people in the world that are celebrating this Day of Peace. That in itself is amazing, right? And I found myself thinking, we celebrate birthdays all month long. So why not? Why not celebrate peace, especially now in our very polarized nation? So, what if peace wasn't just a one-day event, but a lifetime devotion? Because peace, my friends, is not passive. It's not something that we stumble into. Peace is a spiritual muscle. And like any muscle, it gets stronger with use. We build peace every time we breathe instead of reacting. We choose presence over panic. And we speak truth with love. And yes, and we forgive, even when it's hard, even when we're not in the right, like we just forgive because that fosters peace. We work through it and we forgive. So those small acts, the pause before reacting, the breath before responding, the courage to stay present, these are the daily reps of soul work. You go into the gym and you do your daily reps of your free weights. Well, those are the daily reps for soul work. And so for now, I'll invite you to just take a pause in the middle of this talk here and just take a deep breath with me. Wherever you are, if it feels comfortable to close your eyes, just go ahead and close your eyes and inhale. And then exhale, let it go. Allow your body to soften. And with your eyes closed, maybe want to ask yourself gently within, what in me is ready to be released so that I may become an instrument of peace? Now, it might rise as a word or a memory, a pattern, or even a name. It could be control or judgment, maybe over responsibility that gets to be released, maybe an old version of you that you've outgrown. We all have our various lessons, right? Each one of our lessons is custom tailored to our becoming. And so whatever it is, don't rush to fix it. Just notice it. Breathe and listen. Maybe put a pin in it and honor that which spoke to you. Honor that which has surfaced. It's that still small voice that we're listening for. And if nothing came to you right now, that's okay. Keep asking the question, even after this talk. Know that you don't have to prune it now. You just have to see it and be willing, because spirit already knows and your soul already feels it. And so here's the good news, my friends. You're not being asked to figure it out all alone. We're here in great company, this community for one, and the soul knows its own season. So divine order is always in place. There's a time for every pruning and a purpose in every release. And because we are united in the allness of all, your inner peace is part of that collective healing, not just of this time and place, but going back past to our ancestors and to the future of the descendants, the legacy that we're leaving, right? It is not the law of circulation that what is released in love returns in higher form. And so in nature, a tree doesn't mourn every leaf it lets go. In nature, a tree lets go because it trusts, it has faith that the next season is coming. And so we can as well. This is spiritual law. And there's this quote here from Charles Fillmore that we live in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law. Okay. So here it is. Let's take another breath together. And in your own heart, right here, I invite you to say silently with me here, I release what no longer aligns with my becoming. I trust the pruning. I trust the peace beneath the pain, whatever that is. I trust the presence of spirit in every ending. My friends, this is not just a prayer of surrender. It's a prayer of becoming. And so You're not, and I want to remind you of this, you're not being cut back. You're being made spacious for light. So beautiful. You're being made spacious for light. You're making space, right? Know that you are being chiseled as you are becoming, releasing when it's your time to let go. Releasing is an act of wisdom, of great courage, because sometimes we know it's not that easy, and it's, our egos are reluctant. You're not being reduced. You're actually being refined. You're leveling up. So let's say and lean into the frequency of this affirmation together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the affirmations. You see it on the screen there twice. The first time I'll say it, the second time you repeat it, or you can repeat it twice if you want. So inhale to begin. I am willing to let go. Repeat. I am willing to let go. I am willing to grow. Repeat. I am willing to grow. I am willing to be peace. Repeat. I am willing to be peace. And so, my friends, we're being called to bring peace into the world, not just by what we say, but how we show up, but by how we show up, what we let go of, and how we love. So thank you so much for having me here today, and for being here today, for showing up in the sacred in-between space where pruning meets peace. May you trust the season your soul is in, my friends. May your letting go become your path to peace. And may you remember that you are held, you are loved, you are so, so loved, and you are already enough. And so it is. And so we let it be.